Hmm. Well, it seems like I don't have all my music with me tonight. What happened? There it is. The wonders of technology. Don't you just love it when it all comes together like this? Good evening, good evening, good evening to you. How are you this evening? Well, I had a couple of things that I wanted to share with you, and that was the reason why I decided to just kind of drop in on you while you were driving home. And one of the things was in my research, especially after CrowdStrike. I don't know why that's a diphthong for me. Anyway, CrowdStrike. After their experience on July the 19th, then today I read something about Google that happened in May. I said, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. What's going on here now? Let me just back up a little bit and go back into my thought. So my thought was, as you know, I decided to walk on this particular journey because I was fascinated with cybersecurity. But I was even more fascinated when I had 11 breaches, data breach. That all happened this year, 2024, and also one identity theft. And the only reason why I didn't go into total panic was because I had taken 2 classes at one of the local universities, and it was in cybersecurity. So I had a kind of quality idea of what to expect, what not to expect, how to go through the channels, even though I encountered some very strange activities and lack of communication and lack of knowledge, not only on my side of the fence in terms of the local level, but also in terms of how people might want to take their authority a little bit beyond where it is. But anyway, be that as it may, I was able to navigate through that. And I mean finance as well as even just reporting what had transpired. But it also put me in a position where I stopped and I said, wait a second, if this is what I'm encountering, and I ask questions, what is somebody else encountering? Hence the reason for the evening drive home. Ah, yes. So for those of you who don't know me, I am NJ Evans. Oh, I think I better say that, huh? I'm NJ Evans, and what I wanted to do this evening is share something with you, as I said before. So, without any further ado, let's begin. Don't think for a moment that the events that are happening right now are not impacting the United States. They are. The only thing that is happening that we are not that well aware of is how many other nations are involved. You're going to hear me turning pages because there's a particular page I'm looking for. It actually spoke about digital wallets and everything else, but that's not the real piece that I wanted you to hear. What I wanted you to know about was, listen to this. South Africa, which has a population of about 64 million, and I'm guessing on that. All right, but about 64 million. They have the largest fingerprint ID base at this time. And what I would like to do with that is just like bring a focus in. So we're talking about South Africa and we're talking about identity, okay? Fingerprint base. They have one of the largest ones, and I believe they have 63 million people there. Then we also have Latin America. Latin America has 600 million. That's their population. And they have 33 countries that are involved. And what I thought was interesting about them is that their focus is biometrics. And so I'm saying biometrics. Biometrics, okay? If you don't know what that is, you're going to look it up, okay? But anyway, who's the target audience? The target audience there is the civilians and the criminals. And the same thing I would imagine applies over in South Africa. Now, I didn't say the southern part of Africa, I said South Africa. All right. The whole digital industry is predicted to really explode by 82% by 2027. Digital solutions, that's where the money is, in the United States itself will go up to $27.9 billion No, excuse me, that's where it was. It was $27.9 billion in 2023, last year. So they're expecting and anticipating that to increase by 16%, especially by the year of 2032. So there's all these things that are happening around us. And you're sitting there saying to yourself, so what does that have to do with me? A whole lot. A whole lot. So there's another piece, which is where I was really going with all of this, which is your digital identity. How do you protect yourself? How do we protect ourselves? And there's another segment here. Let me share this with you before we go any further. India. India has the largest digital ID program in the world. Wow. In the world. So even though we're getting bits and pieces of it here, because I saw something, as I might have mentioned before, there was this application that had to be filled out, and I was talking with somebody about this. And they said, yeah, they even had you doing selfies. I said, selfies? What selfies? I said, selfies? And so she said, yeah. I said, how is that possible? I said, that's an application. Why would they want you to do selfies? She said, well, they were connecting it with her ID. So they had her driver's license. Now they wanted her to actually put the camera in front of her face and do a selfie so that she can prove that this is who she is. And I said, wow, that's called biometrics, darling. And that just made me say, wow, really? We're that far? Only to find out that we're not that far at all in comparison to the rest of the world. What happened with CrowdStrike impacted the entire world. So when Emil, one of the people that I mentioned in the description, when one of the writers, I should say, he's an editor. When I mentioned him, and he was talking about IT was brought to its knees. IT was brought to its knees. CrowdStrike was brought to its knees. And that's really what was happening there. But what I found fascinating with his article, though, was when they went inside to really discover what transpired here, what caused that to happen. Now, that was going to be a whole nother level. That's the next level up in understanding what's going on in this world. Meanwhile, we don't even know what's going on. And one of the other reasons why I wanted to talk to you this evening was not only that, but Google also got themselves in trouble, but that was back in May. And Google Cloud accidentally deletes UniSuper's $125 billion pension account. $1 billion of pension accounts. Holy smoke. I'm saying to myself, are you serious? Really? Ouch. 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 And Spicework is the community there that you can research all of this with. And I'm sharing this with you. It might sound kind of here and there, but I'm giving it to you exactly how it's manifesting. One thing after another. I heard about digital wallet because I had an identity theft scenario that was in front of me. Now let's just look at digital wallets. I'm not thinking that it's that old. But in 2022, it had 3.4 billion digital wallet users in the world. 3.4 billion. And that is expected to grow to 53% by 2026. 2026 is 2 years away, isn't that right? And at that point, it'll reach 5.2 billion users. So digital wallets transactions value is going to reach 9 trillion, and that's with a T. Okay, as a matter of fact, it's going past 9 trillion because 9 trillion was 2023. So the forecast for the US is to go to 16 trillion by 2028. 2028, that is not that far. But in all of this, we're still talking about identity. We're still talking about digital identity. And we're also talking about what exactly is all of this and how it relates to the individual. And do you have any rights? And that was one of the things that I had noticed when I was finding out about the breach, the data breach from my insurance company and stuff. When I found out about that, it wasn't because they were forthright. It was because I received a letter from this hocus pocus lawyer. And I say it like that because of the tone of the letter. All right. And the letter was stating that I was a part of this whole thing that took place back in September of last year, but they're telling me about it in April of this year. So when I notified my insurance company, I said, well, how come you didn't say anything to me? And they said, well, we didn't know. Ooh, we. And you have all my data information, and I'm not the only one. I said, wow, are you serious? See, this is times when you have to have some kind of humor. You do realize that, of course, right? Because people are fumbling through here, and everybody's not fumbling, but a few are. And the one thing that we have to be able to do is understand the language, understand what is being impacted. Case in point, there are certain companies that'll allow you to do XYZ, upload your creative art into the ethers, that's what I call it, into the cloud, but you don't know if you still own the rights to your own work. I'm telling you something that I know now. All right. And you don't even know if you own the rights to the work that you created. And then all of a sudden, when you start reading the fine print, which you should have done in the beginning, all right, then you find out that, oh no, if I was to use my own work, there's a possibility that this company is going to sue me. All right, infringement, copyright infringements. I said, how is that possible if that person created the work? How is that possible? Because they can't tell who owns the work once it goes to the cloud. Because I'm imagining that all that law, all the legal side of that, is not totally in place. And that brings me to this other person that I wanted you to definitely read. Beautiful, well written piece. This is in the descriptions as well. It's called A Survey on Digital Sovereignty and Identity from digital, digitalization to digitalization. Digitalization. I'm telling you, the diphthongs. Anyway, that particular piece, these gentlemen, two young men, I'm thinking they're two young men. Anyway, they're from Singapore. And one his last name is Tan. And I'm telling you this because I don't want to hurt anybody's names. The other one's last name is Chai. And the third person that's involved with this last name is Lam. But in the description, everybody's full name, title, and who they are, is there. I'm also using this under the license of Creative Commons, and that will also be indicated. But here's what I wanted you to hear. Now, he covers everything, and he talks about indigenous people as well when it comes to the digital sovereignty. There are different sides that he approaches. He approaches it from a national level, rather, they approach it from a national level, as well as the individual level. You must read this. You must get a hold of this article. It's on the internet. It's not hard to find. It was written, let me see, 2023, October 2023. That's when it was published. ACM Computing Survey, 2023. Well, this one thing I wanted to read to you. Okay, this is about the national level, okay? Let me see. Let me back this up a little bit. The dominant position of big tech companies such as FAM, that's Google, Apple, Facebook, Amazon, and Microsoft, in the provisionings of cloud computing and social media, data of citizens and companies are now stored in the cloud of these big tech companies. Thus, nation states or non-big tech companies would like to reassess their authority and control over the data and the usage. In the case of EU, in recognizing the importance of retaining this sovereignty and to constrain the platform power, the EU has channeled its efforts into tighter and more comprehensive regulations over the tech sector. To some extent, this can be viewed as a full-blown defense of Europe's digital sovereignty and making Europe to become the world's leading regulatory superpower. In addition, governments in the European Council, more specifically Germany, announced their intentions to establish digital sovereignty as a leitmotif of European digital policy. Not sure what that word is, but that's pretty close. This movement attempts to assess the government's authority over cyberspace and to protect the citizens and businesses from the challenges of not having control over their data. Okay? Over their data. And that's what this is all about. This particular conversation that I'm having with you is just to let you know that it's time for us all to wake up. If you don't play chess, begin to play chess because this is definitely a chess game. And you have to know the language. And that's something else that I'm creating. I'm creating what I call a cheat sheet or a cliff notes so that people who don't understand some of the verbiage, and I understand that because every industry has their own language. I'm going to create this. Well, I've already done the draft on it. And it will be a free download for you guys so that you'll be able to use it. You'll be able to read from it. You'll be able to understand some of the words. And you see, everybody that's listening is not high tech. Everybody that's listening is not necessarily in this industry, the tech industry. A lot of them like to shy away from it. But they need to know, especially if you go to a bank and the banker is telling you that you need to have a digital wallet. You need to understand what that means and what does that entail. And you can't depend on them to tell you the truth. Not all bankers are fair. Not all at all. But neither are they off the chart in terms of not being honest. You have to pick the right ones who want to talk to you correctly instead of coming as if they live in the ivory tower. Now that I say all of that, I say this to you. I believe in you. I believe that you can learn everything that you need to know in order for you to bring your family forward because you see, you're still looking at a legacy that you have to protect. If your digital identity is gone, if your individual identity is gone, it starts with the person and their personal identity, and then it moves over to the digital world. And it becomes even more involved, more and more involved, and we're becoming more and more consumed and blended. And what are you going to do about that? It's okay, I guess, for some, but is it okay for all? What are you going to do? Because you got little people that are depending on you to make the right choices. You have little people who want you to remember that their legacy and that their future are sitting in your hands. We're going through all kinds of turmoil at this point in time. We have a meteor showers that are coming in 2 days. So this earth is going through a lot, traveling through the photon belt and then also going through the elevation that she's going through. My dear, we all have to start acting as if we have an understanding of what's happening at this time. You are responsible for you, and you're responsible for those that are around you who don't fully understand. But you do, and I do. So now let's make some really good and thoughtful, really thought out decisions and move forward accordingly. So on that note, I'm going to close out and I'll say thank you so very, very much for letting me ride with you on your journey home. Because you know what? It's not raining tonight, but it was pouring last night. It was really pouring. And in some places, they were dealing with hurricanes. I'm glad that you're safe, though. Keep your family safe as well. Remember, whatever you focus on, you actually create. Whatever you say, you can also manifest. So be careful of the things that you say and be careful of the things that you focus on. And give yourself the confidence to move forward in whatever it is that you feel you need to do at this particular point in time, that you feel will enhance and protect your legacy. I'm NJ Evans. This is the evening drive home, and I look forward to speaking with you again in a couple of days, maybe next week. Have a great one. Ciao.